Well, hello. Hello, my fair weather friends. Happy Thursday. Happy Hot Topics Thursday. Yowza. Good to see you. Oh, do I have stuff on me? Oh, my makeup. Got to blend. Blend, blend, blend. You guys can all hang with me before people show up. We only have 38 people here. Is this, are we public or are we private? What's this showing on this? It was a horrible day for Trump. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a few things. Hold on. Let me make sure. Was this on public or is this just for members? Did I put it on public? I got to make sure everybody can get here. Oh my goodness. Gotta make sure. Yes. All right. All right. Anybody and everybody that wants to be here will be here eventually. We're going to spend the next couple of minutes saying hi to everybody. Then we're going to give remotes. We had a lot of questions. I'll come up close. I know y'all have. How do I turn this thing up? Somebody showed it to me once. Okay. Yeah, you guys can hear me okay, right? The notification just went out. All right. Well, while everybody is showing up, first off, thank you so much for coming to see me. We will be giving a little bit of an update on those of you who had questions. I did a long form HCRV last night. I did another one today. I watched the hearings, the January 6th hearings. A lot of people want to talk about that. They want to talk about the economy. Anything and everything is on the table today. We are playing. Yes, I will answer that question. Who are we playing for? You know, you guys are just several steps ahead of me. We've already raised $563, and I didn't even make my coffee yet. So thank you. We are playing for the Southern Poverty Law Center. Per your request, the Southern Poverty Law Center believes that justice is, that the courts, etc., should be for all of us, right? It's a great organization. They protect us. They make sure that justice and liberty for all. Yes. And so the courts should not be different if you are poor, if you're Black, if you're a person of color. You guys choose the charities. I have a list and I select. And so today, without further ado, you have requested the Southern Poverty Law Center. And so you've already, I put this up last night and you folks have already raised. So go ahead and give yourself a round of applause. $563. Mm-hmm. So we thank you. We thank you for that. All right. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, where are y'all coming from? I am broadcasting live from somewhere in beautiful downtown Portland, Oregon, home of the best food in the world, best beer, best coffee, best people, voted weirdest city, the most whimsical city. You know that the Oracle of Whimsy would have to be based somewhere in downtown Portland, Oregon. But now, and I'm drinking water. My snack for tea time, this is our tea time. My tea time snack was I made homemade roasted peanuts and I soaked them in water to get rid of what's called the pitta. and then you can spice them with nutritional yeast. They're wet, and then you mix some nutritional yeast in, paprika, garlic, cumin, whatever you like, and then you chili powder, lime or lemon, and then you slow bake it at 350. So they become coated peanuts. So I made them. So that was my snack. And then I also had toast with my tea. Who here likes marmalade? I like Marmite, and I'm a true Brit. I'm always like, I can't stand the bloody Brits. Y'all know that I'm like 90%. No, yeah, so quite a bit Brit. I am a true Brit. Yes, I love British cooking. It's one of I prefer British cooking. Good pub food. I like good pub food, a fish and chips. I like a good pub pie. Vegan is fine. A good vegetable curry pie is fine. It doesn't have to have meat in it. I like chips. I like the baked beans, Heinz baked beans, which are also vegetarian vegan. I like Marmite, also vegan. The cheeses. I don't need to eat a lot of meat in the British diet, but I do like your cheeses, your sharp cheddars, Philadelphia sharp cheddar. Is that what you call it? I love the teas. Love all the teas from Britain. PG Tips, definitely. The Cadbury chocolates. The marmalade. Yeah, marmalade and Marmite. Yeah, so fish pies. I love fish pies. I make a good fish pie. I think, yeah, pasties, all of that stuff, right? All right. So, hi, Hugger Greeter TK. Thank you so much. Ooh, lemon curd. How lovely. Hi, Kay Rubio. Hi, Julie McNeely. Marmalade. Yes, on an English muffin. Yes, did you see the Queen? She had her marmalade sandwiches. Lovely. It was a lovely show they did. Hugger, we've said hi to. Denise Briley, thank you for your help today. Joel Tilson, awesome to see you as well. Good to see you. The Bosso, thank you for your help. We will be doing a blitz away in just a second. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to be talking about has to do with January 6th. Is everybody enjoying whoever EH is, the guy that gave me the reading, who said that everything would be over and then everything would be out in the open in the next 2.5 weeks, and that I should enjoy my vacation. Whoever you are, it'd be great if you could call back again. Because that guy, I don't know who he is, but EH. Yeah. All right. So I got some notes here to go over. I had everything beautifully organized, and then of course I lose it. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so 2.5 weeks. Remember that we had said in the previous remotes, Ireland, lovely. We had said in the previous remotes that the hearings, we could be seeing hearings going on into August. We have a break now. They're going to pick up again in July. Is that correct? Well, I saw things really getting hot in August. So we followed the energy a couple of years ago, for those of you who remember the channel. And we talked about the fact that there will come a point in American consciousness where we will demand answers from our government, and specifically from the FBI and our intelligence services. Do you all remember that? So where we are headed, so the hearings are happening. We now they've talked about the presidential pardons. We're now talking openly about the 5 members of Congress that will fall. I believe we have the names were announced today. What was it? Mo Brooks, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jim Jordan, Was Scott Perry part? Scott Perry was the person that brought them in. So they're saying it was a criminal conspiracy. 5 people requested pardons. Am I understanding that correctly? So then so we also have Boebert's going to be taken out for financial crimes because she's already been raided. And then who is this guy? Jeff Clark? Is that the guy that they took out? Took him today. So how it looks everybody, this is feeling a bit festive. I feel like you and I are kind of like outside. I should open the window. It's a sunny day here. We've got our cotton candy. Anybody eating grapes? I almost opened today with like a bag of grapes or popcorn and just because let's face facts. You folks have suffered. I've suffered. Do you remember the days when people told me I was insane when I said that Trump was in on it? uh, Stealing the election in 2016. Remember those days 5 years ago? I mean, we've waited. So I would say to you, readers, sensitive, empaths, you got to come on the cruise with me because I've been waiting for this moment to arrive. How's it? Yeah, we've been waiting. Yeah. So we all gotta, and we also have to give a gratitude to spirit. However, the there's birds over there, and Mila's like, but however spirit works, right? However we tune in the dial. We're going to talk about that, Joel. Assange. That's definitely on the list. But when you tune in that dial and spirit gives you a very clear answer and says, yeah, it's pretty much the main arrests are going to be done in about 2.5 weeks. And then we're going to move on to the next energy, which is after everybody is busted, the police are going to be called in. And then all of America is going to want to know, where the hell have you been? And we give gratitude. We give gratitude to spirit for the wisdom that we receive as we sit in meditation and we observe the energy towards its natural conclusions. So I always take you as far as I feel you're ready to be taken in a remote. So yes, they're all going to prison, but now the question to you is, as we go forward into the summer months, into August, as we begin to rip to shreds our own intelligence agencies as they go under the grill, as they sit under that hot lamp, the FBI, Homeland Security. Think about what's coming. We are starting a new chapter. The chapter of Trump comes to an end. Yeah, but now we're going deeper, right? Because this channel, we always want to get to the truth, right? We want to get to the truth through the pretend. This channel, we say, it's a performance art piece. Sometimes I get messages from people. They say, stop singing. And I just say, hey, man, I'm a performance art piece. This channel is a performance art piece. Don't come into my art. If an artist is like doing their art and then come in and say, I don't like the blue, add the pink, and get rid of that. This is an art piece. You gotta take the music with it. You gotta take you know, you gotta just take the whole experience. It also keeps us from getting sued. So we call it satire for a reason, but It's interesting to me as a remote viewer. I sometimes, and I wonder if you feel this way as well as remote viewers, whether you do it as a hobby, you're doing it professionally, you watch this channel, you watch other remote viewers. Do you ever feel like you don't know where you are in time? Yeah. So people in this dimension are just finding out about the 5 members of Congress that will fall, right? So you are like the kid who gets moved up 2 grades, and now you're sitting doing your math homework, and the other kids are crying because they can't figure it out, and you're like, could we move on? Could we move on? They're just learning about the 5. Oh my God, you just now found out about the 5 members of. Could we move on? Could we move on? So I get. So it does feel for us, Geocosmic Valentine, Hugger, etc., to the remote viewers, like we live in a different time as everybody else sometimes. Isn't that true? So the issue of the presidential pardons is something we've talked about in the past. So yeah, Mo Brooks was one of the names that came up. Matt Gaetz came up. Scott Perry came up in the past. We can definitely throw about it. Whether or not the pardons will even stick, probably not. We can throw on it because the person that was giving the pardon is an accomplice, and you can't pardon if you're part of the investigation. Yeah, and Jeff Clark, I always felt like he had a target on his head. That was inevitable that was gonna happen. He was breaking so many laws. I mean, it just was absolute insanity. Courage to the people of Georgia. That was pretty amazing what came out, how much they sacrificed and how brave they were in Georgia. More we can throw on that as well. Had quite a few questions from you all. Definitely people are concerned about the Donbass. Got the question from Seaside to Row. We can do a blitz on that. It feels to me like every time I go into the energy, uh, Putin wants to do if Zelensky agrees to give it to Putin, Putin will stop killing everybody. That's basically what the energy feels like. No, it will continue on because now they've gotten approval, but from the EU, and that increases. Unfortunately, that increases the risk of escalated conflict. Um, but we do know from the remotes that we've done in the past that there are people inside the Kremlin that are trying to. They're doves. They're not all hawks. We have some doves as well there. April Fox, Bill Gamir wants to know about the cyberbullying. We'll definitely do a blitz on that. Cyberbullying is going to be outlawed. A lot of that stuff, it was just like wasp. At a point, you can't even hear anything but the wasp. They will bombard you with this cyberbullying. That's what happened to Hillary Rodham Clinton, and then when she lost, it stopped. And it exists to drive the candidate mad, to control the masses, etc. It's very, very terrifying, and it's not free speech, it's mind control. There's all kinds of ways they manipulate people. That absolutely, we know now that the president is doing a cyber bullying panel, and we are pretty sure these panels usually meet before Congress and Senate. They usually present their findings within 3 to 6 months. I'm going to go ahead and predict, just based on past history, but also the energy, that they'll probably present the cyberbullying results probably either before or spring of 2023. We should start to see that start to unroll. Had a question about Afghanistan and the future of Afghanistan. Spirit Beyond the Stars was upset. Also, there was an earthquake. I know a lot of readers have been getting ear ringing, which we will often get because we can feel some kind of a gas or sound that gets released when the plates move. So highly sensitive people will often get a high-pitched ring right before there's an earth. Usually within a short amount of time before an earthquake, usually within a day or so, we'll start to hear the sound. So people were kind of picking up stuff. Anyway, unfortunately, a lot of people have been hurt, so we pray for Afghanistan. I was going to say regarding Afghanistan that Putin is concerned when I go into the energy that it's becoming disruptive. Like you have this strong energy coming in, the Arabs funding Pakistan extremists and Afghanistan, and then you have geocosmic Valentine, that's you hearing when the plates shift, they release this high-pitched sound, and highly sensitive people and animals can hear it. Yeah, and I think scientists have proven it. So, evidently, women are more likely to hear it than men just because of men's hearing. Isn't that crazy? Putin has to get back into Kazakhstan because he said Kazakhstan was unstable because of the CIA. So that was what happened with Putin. No, the war will continue because they're in the EU and because he will not give up the Donbass. Unfortunately, we have to try and de-escalate now because they don't want the war to become really even more crazy than it already is. All right, so we are now finishing up the remotes on, I have one final. You'll be happy to note we are pretty much done with all of the remote viewing and personal research and my theory on Johnny Depp. So you'll be happy. I'm going to finish it now, and let me tell you, he's not even important. So it looks like what I can figure out happened. What we know for a fact, we know that Depp met Adam Waldman on the mega yacht of bin Laden. We know that, or yeah, bin Salman, excuse me, bin Salman. And we know, I believe, that bin Salman is the cousin of Sheikh Mohammed. Is it Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed? Correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe that is the relationship. Now, what seems to have happened is that Sheikh Mohammed went through a very, very nasty divorce with Princess Khaya. Is everybody familiar with Princess Khaya and Sheikh Mohammed's divorce? Now, it went on for a very, very long time. And Sheikh Mohammed has been accused of severe abuse against Khaya, physical abuse, sexual abuse, physical violence, torture, etc., of his wife and children. So Princess Khaya was able to escape to Britain, but her two daughters were held hostage. Imagine a father holding their children hostage. So we have two children. I believe their names are Latifa and Shamas, something like that, the two princesses, and they finally escaped. So this was a extreme public shaming for Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. Is that correct? So bin Zayed and bin Salman, I believe, are cousins. So what appears to have happened, based on the remote, I'm going to just give it to you, is that bin Salman, Adam Waldman, this is a fact. This we know for a fact. Adam Waldman met Johnny Depp on bin Salman's mega yacht, and it appears that the purpose of the meeting was to create PR to support Johnny Depp because he had lost he was losing. I think it was even before Britain. Was it before Britain that he hired him? Now, at the same exact time, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed was also doing terrible in the British courts. People believed that his wife, Princess Khaya, had been the victim of domestic violence. The kids were afraid they were going to be murdered, et cetera, et cetera. So it's possible. What I believe happened was that they picked Johnny Depp as a Manchurian candidate, similar to what they did with Donald Trump. They met on a mega yacht, just like with Donald Trump. And just like with Donald Trump, they decided to manufacture a candidate for their cause using the very same tactics they did when they stole the election in 2016. Now, this time around, and this is strictly for entertainment purposes only, though I've been assured by certain people it doesn't matter anymore what I say because they've got a lot of mega yachts and they now know where the money is. But getting back to the story, so they picked a Manchurian candidate just like Donald Trump. And what they were looking for was they were looking for somebody who was famous, was a heartthrob, that was sexy, that was an actor, that could play the part. Hey, he didn't even have to use his own money. They were, and because they knew this guy was terrible with money, as are most addicts. So the money probably came heavily from the Middle East, the PR money to promote the court TV, the money that went to ABC News, which is compromised now. So he became a Manchurian candidate. He was selected by certain men in positions of power who themselves had been accused of domestic violence and rape. So who are those people we think? Mohammed bin Zayed is out $700 million. He lost the case. His two daughters are now free. But an abuser will never leave you. And so the concern here is that Sheikh Mohammed is not done and that he simply found another way to go after his victim. Now, what's interesting is that Amber Heard was selected because she was weak, she was vulnerable, she didn't have the protection of a king or anything like that. And Depp was used as a Manchurian candidate because he was charming and powerful. And this was a way that men in positions of power could weaken women's testimonies in the Me Too movement. And we find, in fact, that there is a relationship between Johnny Depp and Weinstein was a friend of his. He also is friends of Marilyn Manson, who witnesses say has a rape room, has been drugging, raping, and torturing like civilians that he meets and drugs with his friends. So he's now emboldened. Marilyn Manson is emboldened in another suit of domestic violence with Evan Rachel Wood. Is that how you say her name? And may, in fact, be hiring some of the same PR people. So the reason, so basically they meddled in our elections, and now the same, but there's also some money that probably came from Putin. And it was all put together in offshore account, just like they always do it. And then Adam Waldman had access to the offshore account. And then he used it to promote channels which were anti-Amber in a cyberbullying campaign. So he gave money to, very likely, that umbrella guy. Now, when I gave this remote several weeks ago in less detail, it was painful to have to give it, and I lost 1,100 subscribers. So be it. Well, the past is the past. But now we're 3 weeks later into this, and the people that are investigating this have caught up with the research. So people that are activists for human rights, hundreds of them now are I'm not alone anymore, because Ronan Farrow, I got a lot of research from him. So now the people that are figuring it out, whether it's the remote viewers that figure something out, or Ronan Farrow's relationship with Black Cube and Weinstein, these types of plots, different investigators, different people are sharing little things that they know, and it's coming together into what looks like foreign interference in our courts, and that it was engineered to publicly shame a rape victim using a Manchurian candidate because of the anger and rage that people like Sheikh Mohammed felt over losing his case. Now, as I said, it's not over. They've now felt emboldened. So Adam Waldman is now going to appeal to the High Court in Britain. He's going to try and have that overthrown. And I don't know what legally Sheikh Mohammed can do, but Sheikh Mohammed may also be looking to pull some things. Queen Elizabeth II has broken all contact now. She no longer has a relationship with Sheikh Mohammed because of this, and because he held his two daughters captive for 20 years. So I believe, as a remote viewer, based on the remote view and the conversation that I was able to access between who I believe has been Salman, who got some of the money, and it was transferred to a private account that Adam Waldman had access to, which he then used large sums of money. And I believe that based on this remote, very little money actually came from Johnny Depp. He was simply an actor that was selected as the Manchurian candidate in order to weaken the Me Too movement, but that the money is actually predominantly foreign. And it was also used not just to weaken our courts, weaken free speech, weaken the rights of women in the United States. But I believe that the other reason why the money is coming from foreign sources like Putin is to create antagonism, fighting, and hostility between Americans, which is usually what we find anytime we find propaganda connected with Adam Waldman, and thus completes that remote. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them, and then we can go on to the blitzes. Now they're in our courts. And then the final thing I would say is, if you are a remote viewer and you come across a crime, you do have to report. That's part of our ethics that we teach our graduates. So it's a drag because now I have to write a report for the Justice Department. I just started it today. And you know, all the reasons why I feel, so that you don't sound like a nut. So I wrote the investigative report is what I found with my data, because you have to do data research after. And then now I'm writing the formal letter for the Justice Department. So it certainly has not helped my channel, and it certainly hasn't created less work, but you have choice. You know, what Spirit said to me when I prayed on this was, Spirit said, there's no right or wrong, which I appreciate. You can continue to do this channel and just entertain and charm people and let this go and let the feds handle it. Or you can follow your conscience and tell people the truth of what you see and be shamed and told you're crazy, which is okay, because that's the whole performance anyway. But, you know, it's going to be a drag. So I prayed on it and I decided to tell you the truth. So that's that. All right. So let's do the impasse prayer, and we're going to blitz, blitz, blitz away. Does that work for you? Well, I file the report. The investigative reporters and everybody else files the reports. And we let the people that protect our country do whatever they feel they need to do. They probably know a lot more than we do. Okay, I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love. but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively, we say, Amen. And we want to give a shout out to Mark Rhodes that we hope he feels better soon. He tested positive for COVID. He'll be okay. He's boosted and everything. But we just want to give our love and send healing light to our beloved, the PR person for the channel. Sending love to you, Mark. Love, 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 love. Love and healing. Okay, so we have a question here from Joanna Burgess. If you leave the little question marks, I will just blitz as fast as I can. Have you seen any connection between Putin, Trump, and Ukraine? Let's do it. Huh, interesting. It's weird. It's a weird energy. The first thing I feel when I go into this relationship between Putin and Trump is this kind of, I don't know how they got to be like this with one another, but I always feel that Putin is amused by Trump because Trump is so desperate to be liked. He's like a little boy who has the attention of his father. And so that leads me to suspect that he probably did not get much attention from his father, Trump. And so that hunger is, he's got like a father son kind of, it's a crush kind of thing with Putin. So that is interesting. It's almost as if wanting to have a relationship with Putin is more important than anything else. There's also this confusion from Trump. Why didn't we have more of a relationship? Why didn't you let me build you a place at Trump Tower? You know, you get the impression with Putin, like Putin doesn't take Trump seriously. I don't want a penthouse in your Trump Tower in Moscow. Putin doesn't take him seriously, and he desperately wants to be taken seriously by Putin. Putin is amused by him. Putin is actually, people call him a thug, and maybe he is, but he's a highly educated thug with a law degree from the university. So there are different levels of education. I get the impression that Putin wanted nothing to do with him unless he was gonna do something for Putin, and this was for Putin, it was always about, "What are you gonna do for Russia? What are you gonna do for us?" But what about me and our relationship? And I can build you a pent I don't I yeah, whatever. I'm not interested in that. Look, what are you gonna do for me regard it has that kind of an aspect. What he wants from Putin is he wants to party in a penthouse with Putin and have some girls over in Trump Tower in Moscow, and like he's arrived. Oh my god, I get to entertain Putin at Moscow. So where he was at was completely different than where Putin was at. Putin, it was always a business arrangement. It was always about what can you do for me? And so that it presents as confusion by Trump. You mean you don't want to be my friend? It's just so sad. Um, What you hear is that there were people close to Trump that prevented Trump from getting away with a lot. So you have Putin. Here's how the remote looks. Putin is trying to get Trump to do something, and Trump will give him whatever he wants, but around Trump are all these people making sure it doesn't happen. And because Trump cannot control his own people, for me, you're not a man. You're not a real leader. You cannot control all them, and they are controlling you, and you cannot control them. I want to do business with you, Putin. Well, then get rid of all of them. So that's what Trump does. He starts to get rid of everybody. Bolton, right? So you have the other in relationship, addiction and heartbreak. Why don't you like me? It's a very confused. Ugh. So it has an infantile kind of an aspect. In terms of why, it's very clear here, based on the remotes, Joanna, that the reason why he didn't take Ukraine under Trump was because people in positions of power around Trump were doing everything in their power to make sure it didn't happen. People like Bolton, etc., were sabotaging it. They were handicapping Trump. And I don't know if any of this has come out, but it certainly appears that way here, that people thwarted or prevented it from being worse than it was. Thank you for that question about the Panama Papers. A really important question here by Melody Harmon. She wants to know what happened to them. Well, this goes back to evidence, Melody, and it goes back to the mega yachts and the fact that they were wiring money, and that people in positions of power who had been on those mega yachts were disgusted, and they were the ones that went to the investigative reporters that did a 10-year investigation on this. Now, if you're talking about the Panama Papers, Adam Waldman is mentioned in the Panama Papers because he's one of the people that was putting money into offshore accounts. That remote that I gave you a couple of weeks ago, the 3 offshore accounts, I actually was able to locate an article out of The Guardian that confirmed that he does, in fact, have 3 known accounts. For those of you who are too impatient to read the article, you do the remote. I just did the remote, no. But you do want to collect your data. So when I did that, I was able to locate the article out of The Guardian and confirm that he was part of the Panama paper. So yeah, they were the money was put into offshore accounts, and how much was there, who knows? And then from there, it was used to pay and bribe people and promote social media and channels, pay them under the table to give the election to Trump. So one of the questions was if we could throw on the PR firms, Adam Waldman, etc. I did do a remote on it because when people started to do the data, and all roads lead to Adam Waldman. Yeah. Basically, the feeling from the intelligence agencies is that he has been dropping breadcrumbs for years. And so it was kind of like the feds gave it a tacit okay to let him do what he wanted, because they actually got a lot of information from him. And when they're ready to move in, when they're done collecting all their data, they will reel Adam Waldman in. And this is precisely where we find ourselves right now. Yes, Adam Waldman's offices will be raided if they haven't been. Yes, because I'll tell you why it's going to happen. It's going to happen because Julian Assange, and this goes back to the guy probably that I talked to 2 weeks ago, might have been related to that they announced a couple days after that the courts had decided that he could be extradited to the United States to face charges. So now we have Julian Assange, who has not yet named his co-conspirators and refuses to cooperate. And look, I think we all know who the co-conspirator was. I think we all know who the PR propaganda guy for Putin was, who weaponized. And I think we all know why Adam Waldman met with him, a dozen times at the Ecuadorian embassy. I mean, everybody knows now. It's now public information. So the question is, why not arrest him? Because they had been intercepting phone calls of Waldman's for quite a bit of time. And then when they got access to the mega yachts, which is what Mueller had told us, even though we had no idea what the heck he was talking about, because we're not FBI people, they're going over everything. Some of the conversations were taped. And also they're finding the wire transfers, the money transfers. So they when they went into the mega yachts, they went into the computers, etc. So so again, when we talk about where the energy, let's follow the energy, because this is kind of like an honors class, right? This is like we get together for camp. Some kids love math and they go to math camp. They do math for fun because they love math. So they have math camp. So the Oracle of Whimsy is for nerdy people who love to do data collection. They're kind of intellectual. They love mind games and word games and crosswords, and how meditation and changing our brain frequency can allow us to put the pieces together, right? Einstein talked about that. That's this channel. We do fun stuff like that on this channel. And so we follow the energy to its most likely conclusion. So what's its most likely conclusion? If we're getting Assange, do you think we're going to let his co-conspirators go? No, of course not. So it's basically over. I was meditating today about ranting and raving. And in the meditation, I was connecting with the consciousness of the intelligence agencies. And I said, I'm ranting and raving on social media. And the response I got back from in the meditation was, it makes no difference what you do, really. If it makes you happy to do that. What you do or don't do will not in any way change this investigation. So you can do whatever you like, Whimsy. I was like, but I'm frustrated. Yeah. All right, we have another question here about Eric Prince. Now, we all know from the remote views what that was about. It was about Putin wanting private armies and wanting to privatize everything for his trade, right? That's why it was so important. It was creating these new trade routes because they were trying to bypass the Arab West blockade that was causing them to have to pay too much for everything. So that's what but that's, that goes back to the Silk Road where they've had that kind of thing going on. All right. What is going on with Eric Prince? Oh, thank you, wholesome girl. That's really pretty. Okay, Kikra, I'll just answer one thing about Assange. From the time they said that he could be extradited to the US to face charges, from the time that happens, Assange has 14 days to appeal. But based on the research, what I found coming from the Justice Department, etc., they are confident that they've got him, that we have Assange. Yeah, so he will be extradited, and then his co-conspirators will also be gobbled up. Okay, there's a good song for us. Que sera, sera. You guys know that one? Whatever will be, will be. I got to figure out a good key for me. Let's find out where Eric. Isn't it weird? Like all the questions are getting answered now with January 6th, all those weird remotes we got. Like, oh, that. Oh, these people are crazy. Oh, yes, very good, Llama Brian. Dang, girl, you know things I don't. Uh, how did you know that he was hiding out, Llama? How did you know this? If theoretically Eric Prince were staying in the Seychelles or somewhere that he didn't have to be extradited, and if we were asking him to come back and to tell us everything we know in exchange for a lesser sentence or something like that, then theoretically he might be hanging out in the Seychelles, right? Is this what you were picking up? Are you psychic? How do you know this stuff? Oh, miter. How do you guys know this? Because I just got into the records and that's what it looked like, miter. Owie, owie, boo, boo. Yeah, I'll tell you what happens. Look, come on back to the States. Come on, Page of Cups. Let's work it out. Come on, cups of healing. So that tells me that somebody's he's I don't know where he is. I didn't know anything until I got into the records, and I'm like, oh. So I'm seeing this come, Mr. Taliman, tali me banana. Like they're trying to get him back. And then this was his energy, stuck. So, and then eyeing over the waters. Think about this. They get on these mega yachts. They pick a Manchurian candidate, Donald Trump. They gather up a bunch of dirt on Hillary Clinton, WikiLeaks, etc. They get a PR guy, Adam Waldman, and a couple of other people, hanger-ons like Bannon, etc. They weaponize it. They use Russian propaganda, only now it's far more sophisticated. Now they can go in, like with Amber Heard, and switch up tapes so that she's saying apple instead of orange. And then they can slice and cut things off. So if someone's screaming hysterically when they're being raped, see how abusive she is? I mean, right? So that's propaganda. Here's the thing that's interesting about Eric Prince. He's trapped in the very place where it all began. It feels like the mega yachts. This is where all this stuff went down, and this is where he's at. They have 11 yachts. How do you people know all this? Look at this. He's stuck there. And it's the same card as Mueller on the other side. He can't leave where he's at. He's stuck on the land. Where? On the other side. Will Johnny Depp be exposed? Sure he will, because everybody figured it out. Go to my Twitter. There's a few hundred now. Amber supporters. Some of them are investigative journalists. So yeah, I said give it 3 weeks. So it's break. He was a Manchurian candidate, and the money came overseas. They got into our courts. It's what I told you, and they used the same PR guy. But if you feel like you're going crazy and like we're the only ones that know this, we're not the only ones that know this. Just go to my Twitter, the Oracle of Whimsy, and then everybody else and all the articles about bin Salman and bin Zayed and the 700 million and the public shaming and how they got into the courts in Britain. It's all to be honest with you, this group knows more than me. They're educated. I didn't even know about Princess Haya. I knew, but I didn't know. It's a mess. So abusive people in power are under attack by female energy, you know? But it shouldn't be like that, because the truth is a lot of the investigative journalists that are covering this now, that are trying to get on those mega yachts to find out about how they got into our court, have a public court, first get a public court so that everybody can see it. PR money went to ABC and to their affiliate Court TV and to their court guy, Dan Abrams, through Crime and Court. All the money was traced back to offshore accounts, Adam Waldman, and probably bin Zayed, bin Salman. They wanted to shame a rape victim, and they picked a Manchurian candidate who was hot and sexy and charming to do it, just like they picked Donald Trump in 2016. It's all coming out. God, I really did, when I found that as a remote viewer, I don't even think it matters at this point if I file with the Justice Department, because it's now public information on Twitter. So now you have that umbrella guy where we are. I want to go on record saying I've been very nice to him, because he's the bad guy. What's that? Rachel Maddow, the bag man. So that umbrella guy is the bag man. He's going to get caught holding the bag. When the hearings start, they're going to want to know where he got all that money, who was paying him for the, don't be I'm very compassionate. I said, don't be the bag man. Get an attorney, call the feds. You participated in a plot to interrupt our fair and court system, our judicial system, just like the 2016 election. Don't be the guy holding the bag. And all these people that have these cyber bullying channels, they're going to be the ones. They're going to be facing legal problems. They're going to be the bag man. And what we are saying, those of us that figured out the hoax, did the data collection, read through everything from Britain, found out about the meeting on the mega yachts and the additional meetings, followed the money to offshore accounts. And we're saying that why should the poor people, the little person who took the PR money to promote their channel or whatnot from before, why are they the ones that are going to jail? Why is it always them? While the person that engineers this slips off and winds up like Eric Prince off in the Seychelles on a yacht somewhere. So yes, it's coming out. It's coming out in a very big way. And that's why he's making crazy videos, melting down, saying that we're after him. We're being very kind. We're saying if you broke the law and took money that's linked to a foreign government that's hostile to the United States, you need to call your lawyer and call the feds. Yeah, because you participated in a plot with hostile foreign actors to interfere in our court system, and that is a federal crime. You attempted to taint a jury. You need to get a lawyer. That's all I said. I don't think that's abuse. All right, next question. Yes, the umbrella guy was the guy thought to have assassinated JFK. And I always think of it also as like the guy hiding under the umbrella who gives you shade, right? Yeah, so I always think that that's kind of interesting. Any more questions for any more blitzes? Let's do some more blitzes. Can you believe that we live in a world like this? Oh, good. Joanne Carson. She has a question. Any hidden connection between Greg Abbott and the law enforcement agencies covering the Uvalde Good God, this is so horrible. Yeah, sitting around letting I can't even think about it. This is, to be honest with you, I didn't even cover Uvalde because it was just too upsetting. But let me go ahead and look at the how this is going to go down with uh, the cops. And yeah, well, yeah. Let me just check. Guys have some funny comments. Um, what scares me is this lack of cooperation I feel in the energy between Texas and the federal government is growing so wide that my biggest the biggest thing that disturbs me in this energy, to be honest with you, is the fact that I think Texas is increasingly challenging the authority of the federal government in ways that could lead to a serious confrontation. I mean, whether it's that they are hit with some kind of financial hit or something, but you have these legal issues, right? It's what can we do when our own Supreme Court says everybody can have a gun? You know, I mean, uh, there's some kind of investigation here or something. Investigation, the police, foolish behavior. There's also something about money. It goes back to that good old boy attitude. We can do whatever we like. They're talking here also this that they want to bury this, build a park, build a memorial, move on, don't tell us what to do. They don't want to listen to the federal government. This is our state. Get out of our business. We know how to take care of our business. We're going to take care of this ourselves. We're going to turn this into a memorial, and you feds can't tell us what to do. It has this feeling of them challenging the feds. Now, what happens is there's a new beginning happening. Uh, there's a new beginning happening in Texas, and there's also a warning, a spiritual warning, because this is the angel of death. You know, the 5 of Pentacles, walking away from a battle you cannot win, but it's also one of the symbols of death. The hooded, uh, the hooded one with the axe or the sickle. You know, he cuts the chaff or he cuts down. Um, Texas has one choice. Either they can begin to move towards stricter gun laws, or it will become a very violent place. And unfortunately, with the loss of federal protections, because the Supreme Court has become insane regarding Second Amendment rights, it's very possible that if they don't get these people out of office, we could be seeing a lot more death and heartache over Texas. I feel that this is really going to be an issue for the elections in November, and Texas could have a completely new beginning. I really think they're going to have to push hard for sensible gun laws. if they want to win, because it's not looking good for Texas if they don't if the Democrats don't get in. If the Democrats don't get in, I would tell people, move if you can, or be prepared to have to fight hard, because this is not the sun setting, the angel of death. I mean, like, who the heck wants to live in a place like that? So what I like, though, is you have a Six of Cups, which is the young people getting involved politically and being motivated. So I do believe that if we push sensible gun laws, it could turn Texas. Texas is on the verge of being blue anyway. They're very close, because you've got that Six of Cups, that young people's energy coming in, and it's very motivated right now. Okay. We have another question here from Joe Cosmic. Is it going to lead to whatever you saw happening in September, October that makes President Biden cry? Good God, I hadn't even thought about that. But that's, thank you for bringing. You folks remember every remote view. Do you guys like write this stuff down? You guys remind me of stuff I say. Yeah, it did look like national grieving, like we are at greater risk of gun violence. Yeah, that was my first thought. So if the courts are making it a lot easier to have that happen, of course, as a remote viewer, because we believe in free choice, that's not the direction we want the energy based on the remotes, because a lot of remote viewers are feeling this kind of plotting of, right around, Indian summer, fall. It's making us nervous. And then you combine that with this attitude that everybody and their baby can have a gun. It's just really spooky. Yeah. Let's take a look at it. Any other readers picking up on grief right around late August, September? Some kind of an incident? Doesn't have to happen, We live in crazy times. The other thing is that as long as there are people meeting on mega yachts that have enough money for mega yachts, our democracy will always be vulnerable, which is what Bernie Sanders says. When you've got that kind of economic disparity, you can pretty much pay for anything, which is also what Amber Heard said. Her ex-husband had an island, of course, where he was meeting on mega yachts with these people. When you have that kind of economic disparity, it's really hard to maintain a democracy. Yeah. It's very likely that this can be prevented because there are so many arrests. This goes back also to a feeling that many of these arrests would be happening during or soon after the January 6 hearings. And then when are they starting up again? Correct me if we have them in July. And I saw hearings in August, so I'm assuming what I'm seeing in August is when the hearings happen with our intelligence, and it's not going to be, I think we can all follow the energy. How could people not be angry? So I don't always agree with Bill Maher, but in the words of Bill Maher, you had one job, which was to protect us, and you fucked it up. Whether it's January 6th or 9/11 or stealing the election, you have one job when you are working for the government, your main job is that you have to be protecting the American citizens. And so the rage that's coming is legitimate. Why didn't you protect us? You failed to protect us. Your one main job is to protect the American people, and that has not happened. You failed to protect us when this guy got into the White House. You failed to protect us when he was in the White House, and you failed to protect us when he and his henchmen refused to leave the White House. So that now we enter into a new chapter, and that is the account and the reckoning that's going to happen in our intelligence agencies. And so we have here the time of the healing of the Justice Department and the healing of justice. But it is that conversation that Bernie Sanders says always comes down to the same thing, which is how economic disparity creates a society that cannot be just. Do you agree with him or disagree? I mean, that's what I always had a problem with in Hollywood, was that there was just too much economic disparity, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous to be in a culture or community with the type of economic disparity you see in Hollywood, and so it doesn't surprise me you see horrific things happening there because of the economic disparity, which is not to say you can't be successful and have $10 million or even $20 million. But when you have so much money that you can fix an election or interfere in a sovereign nation's trials, that is a level of power that cuts at the very heart of what it is to be a democracy. Would you agree? So the final outcome for us is the Queen of Swords, and the Queen of Swords is justice, right? So, yeah. So the takeaway, just to summarize what you're saying, um, regarding risk of violence, etc., the takeaway here is that it can be prevented so long as we have, if justice does its job. Also, you have an investigation. So I think it's starting to look like domestic terrorism. They're desperate. They're also attacking random targets, the LGBTQ community. Did you see Elliot? What's his last name? He's an actor. He's on the Umbrella Academy. He did an interview with Seth Meyers, Elliot Page. I found him so he was so exquisite in the way he was able to communicate this process of gender fluidity. And I really, Elliot Page, yeah, he's quite a remarkable person. Yeah, transgender, but when people who are transgender are allowed to speak and people are able to hear their voice, it does a lot to disrupt the ignorance, because there's a lot of ignorance. And people just don't know science. They don't understand the science of gender. And so, yeah, he did great. He did really remarkable. Oh, is he Canadian? I didn't know that. Yeah. It was funny too. I have so many friends that are trans that I don't know why, but I always forget. So Elliot Page, I completely forgot who he was prior to transitioning. So I just always think of Elliot Page as male identified, just because yeah. And now it's hard for me to think of him because I see him as that profoundly articulate, intellectual guy who's shy and has beautiful chiseled features. You immediately, oh, okay, got, and then you completely forget, oh, and in a way that's probably I think that's okay. That's probably a good thing. Yeah. But I think it does a lot to help people who don't understand realize that it's nothing to be scared, that they're not scary or anything. It's just we live in a wonderful, amazing, diverse universe. All right, I have time for one more quick question. Um, yeah, I mean, you never know what you get a baby, you never know what you're gonna get, right? You don't know if you're gonna get an XX, you don't know if you're gonna get an XY, you don't know if you're gonna get an XYY, you don't know if you're gonna get an XXY. We just want our babies healthy and happy, right? Um, yeah. I would love to answer your question, Lama Bryant. I don't know who Sheryl Sandberg is. So I wouldn't be able to answer that. Okay, one more quick question. Okay, I think we got to that one. Yeah, I don't know who that is. Sorry. Oh, this is really interesting. Yeah, let's take a look at this. I'm really going crazy on this January 6th. Did you guys not get surprised at all because you'd been looking at remote views, or did any parts surprise you? I'm just curious, like, what the audience thinks. Like, was it like people that don't keep up on stuff because they have their lives to live, so they haven't kept up on this? People that don't, yeah, I think the people that were either doing their own remote viewing or their own research probably weren't all that surprised, but I think the general public is. Lean in? I don't know. Oh, To the Stars. Oh, that sounds like fun. All right, what are we looking at? Okay, let's find out if there's more pocket pardons. Yeah, I don't think pocket pardon's going to help, though. I think they're also looking to charge Trump, but because he was not in his right minds due to COVID, he'll probably get off, which is what it always said. Well, I don't want it to be civil war, but you're right. Look, I hear what you're saying, Joanna, because I think what you're saying is that we're moving towards the energy of midterms. We have Putin's main guy, Adam Waldman, shamelessly and openly paying people like ABC. So there's no shame here. They're doing that, and we all know his money is foreign money. So it's the brazenness also that I think what I see in people that are involved in this, activists, a lot of people that are feminist, LGBTQ have gotten really involved in this whole cyberbullying thing because they are target number one. I'm sorry to say, LGBTQ, but we have to be able to feel like people are protected. And I think that the frustration is that we don't feel protected. We don't feel that, and it goes back to where we're headed energetically. And I've always felt we were headed a direct hit with our intelligence agencies. And I think the question is very obvious. Where the hell have you been for the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years, 8? Where the hell have you been? How could this have happened? How could we have not known something this complicated was being plotted while the FBI slept, while Homeland Security slept? And so there are really, rightly so, some very pointed, angry questions that the American people are going to be having in the coming weeks. It'll be I wouldn't want to be on the roasting flame, but it's obvious where the energy is headed. You can just follow it. We have to blame someone for this. Who was sleeping on the job? So maybe that's the next chapter. It's, you know, the next chapter is cleaning up who works in DC, cleaning, maybe that's what the next chapter is going to be. How do we clean this place up? And dark money and all the economic disparity and the fact that they could just march into our courts and have a fake court TV paid for by the plaintiff. Maybe we're headed right back to the Middle Ages, where it's going to be peasants amongst the kings and queens, and there will be the courts will only be for them, and they will decide who the king is, and they will decide the courts, and it will be just like Hollywood. Everyone will keep their mouth shut and say, "Oh, he's a fine king," because people are afraid. And I hope that's not what happens. I'm going to have to go because I have a 5:30 appointment. And just the last thing I would say, Joyce, about pocket pardons is, yes, there may be, but it's not going to help them because you can't give pardons to co-conspirators. It's not constitutional. I don't think that even the Supreme Court would back that. All right. Love and light to everybody. This is my last time giving you readings before going on my cruise. I will be available for readings, I think, in a couple of weeks. So if you go to tarotwithwhimsy.com, you can make an appointment with me, or you can go to Wizio. I am off to beautiful Alaska. Yes, beautiful, beautiful Alaska. If I find anybody cute, or if I find myself in a honey pot, I will let you all know. All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks for hanging with me. It was a lot of fun. Be sure, share, like, all that good stuff. And thank you for donating to the Southern Poverty Law Center if you did make a donation today. I know that they are very grateful. I think we raised about $600-700 so far. It's pretty good. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.